Hello, I'm Miloš Levinsky and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Nostalgia is a powerful force, be it for stuff like 80s fashion, new metal, or outdated geopolitics, I guess. Since Donald Trump has apparently given Moscow a golden ticket back to the world stage, why not take it a step further? If Vlad the Invader is making a comeback, surely the Soviet Union deserves a revival too.
Александр Георгиевич, один вопрос. В России проходит сейчас вот акция о принятии решения, отмене незаконных решений 91-го года. То есть и дать им правовую оценку.
Да, конечно, это было преступление. Советский Союз был единым государством, и то, что его развалили, это не имело никакой правовой подоплеки. Но сейчас этот вопрос, наверное, только одними юридическими средствами мы разрешить не можем. Речь идет о существовании уже сложившихся государств. Мы должны учитывать эти реалии, хотя осудить это противозаконное действие по развалу Советского Союза мы должны для того, чтобы строить великое будущее наших братских народов.
And there you go, the latest stunt of the Russian propaganda team, declaring the breakup of the Soviet Union illegal. That's right, if you can't win wars, just rewrite history, do a retcon, in other words. The grand idea being peddled by Putin's pet philosopher and professional hate-monger Alexander Dugin is that the Soviet Union was wrongfully dismantled. And if something was dismantled illegally, then, logically, it must be restored, right? Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Georgia, Moldova, Ukraine. Congratulations! You're all invited back into the Russian fold, whether you like it or not. And of course, a grand people's petition is already in motion demanding an official investigation into the crime of dissolving the Soviet Union. Because in a country where political assassinations and illegal annexations are a daily occurrence, the real crime was letting those pesky former republics think they actually had a choice. Right, if you thought Russian propaganda had hit rock bottom, think again. They brought a shovel and a drill, presumably. In yet another fever dream edition of state-controlled political talk shows, the Kremlin's mouthpieces laid out their grand vision for the future. It is a plan so ambitious, so delusional, that it would make even the most unhinged conspiracy theorist blush.
А мы поможем Трампу забрать Гренландию.
Ну, да. То есть поэтому, кстати говоря, вот это, кстати... Вот
и Канаду.
И Ирландию.
Он не просил.
Сегодня праздник. Неважно. День Святого Патрика.
А, Ирландия хочет в Россию, что откуда ты знаешь?
Как, опять?
Да, опять. А что касается внутренней части?
Раздел Европы. Ну, нам опять возвращают, нам опять наши базы возвращать в Восточной Европе. Нам опять в Берлин возвращаться. Прибалтику снова учить любить русский язык. У нас еще столько работы впереди.
Ну, значит, работа-то может быть немного впереди, но эта работа, она начнется, вот эта работа, все, о чем вы говорите, она возможна только в том случае, если в 28 году на выборах побеждает Венс или кто-нибудь вроде него. Потому что если Трампу понаставляют столько палок в колеса, что все-таки он внутренний конфликт проиграет, а, кстати говоря, судя по всему, обе страны готовы играть внутри совершенно обострения, то, в общем, как бы разговаривать об этом не приходится.
Тогда придется Калифорнию возвращаться в Мексику, Форт-Росс к родным берегам, Аляска тоже домой, и Гавайи.
So, step one, bring back Russian military bases in Eastern Europe. Yeah, you heard that right. Apparently, the collapse of the Soviet Union was just a bad dream. And in the Kremlin's alternate reality, places like Poland, Romania and Hungary are all just waiting for the return of their former overlords. After all, why should sovereign nations have the right to decide whether they want foreign troops on their soil? Moscow knows best. Step 2. Teach the Baltics to love Russian, because nothing says cultural appreciation like forced assimilation. The idea seems to be that after years of oppression under Soviet rule, Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia should suddenly have a change of heart and embrace their imperial heritage. Forget the gulags, deportations and Russification policies of the past. What really matters is that everyone speaks the great and mighty Russian language. And if they don't, well, the Kremlin always has a few persuasive methods up its sleeve. If all this sounds like the drunken ramblings of a washed-up dictator, that's because, well, it is. But here is the problem. These statements aren't just the fantasies of some unhinged TV personalities. These so-called experts are voicing what has already been written in the Kremlin's playbook. We've seen it before. Propaganda precedes action. First, they say it on TV. Then, they start looking for ways to make it happen. So, what's next? A reenactment of the Warsaw Pact? The liberation of Berlin? The return of Alaska? At this rate, don't be surprised if Solovyov and company start claiming that Russia should be the rightful ruler of the entire planet. After all, according to their logic, every country that was once under Moscow's control should be forever grateful and eager for its return. History, however, suggests otherwise. Eastern Europe remembers, the Baltics remember, and no amount of propaganda will make them forget. One day, I started wondering which Gen Alpha slang word would get immediately banned among Russian officials. Is it Riz, Skibbity, or maybe Phantom Tax? And you know what? NGL. This one gets an instant ban. Why? Well, because it means not gonna lie. Imagine a Russian government minister, spokesman, or general ever not twisting the truth. Impossible. Case in point, the Landmine treaty debate, in which Russia once again indulged in literal brain rot, meaning it's time for Break the Fake to come to the rescue once again. Poggers! Anyway, the story so far. Poland and the Baltics decided to yeet the Ottawa Convention on Anti-Personnel Mines because they feel threatened by Russia's bad aura. They know this is no laugh. After Ukraine, they have every reason to expect Russian negative Riz cringe-lords to do a rerun of the not-so-low-key invasion they did in Ukraine. Seems legit, right? Well, not according to Russia. Apparently, they were like, "Sheesh, you landmine mugging our troops, bro." Or, in plain old English, they don't like the idea of NATO's eastern flank to rebuild its landmine reserves. In fact, according to Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova, they feel threatened. Excuse me, threatened? One day Moscow says it's the goat of all things military, never missing a chance for some nuke-adjacent flex, and the next, they get spooked over landmines? How can you feel threatened by this stuff anyway? It's not like Poland and the Baltics plan to throw them over the border like frisbees. Also, as Poland's foreign minister Radosław Sikorski has pointed out, this is classic Soviet-style diplomacy, by which he meant cringe, to stay true to our verbal theme today. He also added that Russia is issuing threats over Poland quitting the Ottawa Convention, which Russia had never signed in the first place. So yeah, the Russian propaganda hits different, meaning that they're the OG in making the Spider-Man pointing meme into a reality. They point the finger, getting worked up about us quitting a treaty they never signed, but all the LARPing aside, what they really mean is we're triggered that you don't want to be next in line for invasion. Just put the fries in the bag, bro. Also, I'm sure the old sphere of influence thing plays a big part here, Moscow still being a bit delulu about its excess from the Soviet era and giving off strong stalker vibes. But when the excess in question, plus Poland, which never got into the toxic relationship called the USSR but was kind of forced to stay in its orbit, want to keep creepy Russia away with landmines, then I guess it's Russophobia all over again.
Им к врачам надо обратиться, потому что русофобия – это диагноз, это болезнь, заразная, передается. От нее, кстати говоря, лекарства покупать не надо. Нужно знать историю, перестать ее искажать и извращать. Нужно отделять правду от лжи. Это очень хорошая профилактика от русофобии.
Yeah, Russia talking about not distorting the facts is peak comedy. As it is, Chad alpha maneuvering on the NATO eastern flank has made Russia salty. But what can it do? Right now they are starting the real-life equivalent of a flame war on some obscure subreddit, because NATO Russophobes would give Russian troops the landmine treatment instead of rolling out a red carpet, which, to keep our brain rot slang intact, is just dog water, no cap. All right, next time we're doing our episode in Shakespearean English for a change. Fare thee well. And with this, we conclude this episode of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.